Hey, what's up guys? So Overwatch PTR just had a new update and a lot of heroes got changed. So let's go ahead and check them out and go over the buffs and the nerfs one at a time over here. So keep in mind this is on the PTR and this just came out today. Anyways, and I'll also give you guys my thoughts on any of the stuff that we talk about, but I'm also curious to know what your guys' thoughts are also down below in the comment section. But anyways, first off, these are the new hero updates. So Hanzo took a nerf. This one is in the Storm Arrow department, so the damage is reduced from 70 to 60, so a 10 damage nerf. Now what this really comes down to is on like average 200 HP targets, instead of 3 shots, it's going to be taking 4. So that is actually a pretty big nerf in that department, and also because of headshot multiply, that's also a nerf to that in that department as well. But nonetheless, that is straight up a nerf to Hanzo. The next thing that we're going to be taking a look at is McCree. So McCree actually got changed several times. So he got base health increased by an additional 50, so from 200 to 250. With the Peacekeeper, the primary fire recovery times increased from 0.42 to 0.5. So basically that's a nerf to his primary damage. And then also Deadeye firing. Deadeye no longer locks the player's aim. So the first one, we don't really need to do anything other than like select him, and you can see he has 250 HP. But the change to his primary fire, you can definitely notice it if you play McCree. So here's what the firing looks like. You can definitely tell that it fires a little bit slower. And the next thing that we're going to go ahead and go over is the Deadeye, the ultimate, and how that works right now, because it has been changed. So what it does now is you're not locked to the animation of when you actually fire it. So normally when you fire with McCree's ultimate, you would basically be locked in that direction. But what you can do is you can swing from one direction into another one. So let me go ahead and actually kind of show off how that works. So let's say we ulti over here and someone maybe like goes through us, but now we can go ahead and target things over here, fire, and then basically do a sweeping attack and hit someone that we normally would not have been able to hit because I would be locked in that firing animation, if that makes any sense. So those are the changes to McCree. So basically what it comes down to is more health is definitely a buff. The primary fire is a nerf, but it's such a small amount, but if you play McCree at all, you'll definitely notice it. And then the Deadeye, this is overall just going to be I would say a buff. There might be some really random circumstances where it would have been better if they just held still, like another player like comes out in the same area that you would have, if you moved, it would no longer be there, but pretty much it's just a buff. Reaper, Reaping, the passive, the healing amount is reduced from 40% to 30%. In fact, last time I checked that out, that was actually at 50%. So I didn't actually realize that he actually already took a small nerf. I believe this was a while back. I'm not sure the exact date on these, but nonetheless, yeah, so you're going to be healing for less. So if you take damage, well, the only way to really show it is to actually take some damage first and then show off what the healing looks like. So it's just an overall nerf on Reaper. It's a very small one, but in the course of a battle, it can matter not getting that extra at 10%. So that's overall just a quick little nerf to Reaper. Now with Orisa, there's actually a few different things. So Fusion Driver, which is the primary fire, the damage is reduced from 11 to 9. That's actually a pretty big deal because on certain targets it leaves this awkward number, because if it was changed from 11 to 10 it wouldn't really matter that much, but specifically changing it to 2 really matters a lot because of course there's not really that many targets that will be on like off integers. It's usually at like 200, 250, and then obviously with armor there's a lot of other like rounding that has to take place, but nonetheless this is just a straight up nerf to Orisa. We'll go ahead and select Orisa real quick. I feel like it's kind of hard to notice the Orisa damage, like unless you're just shooting like once here, so I'll just like kind of tap it. But obviously with the headshot multiply that matters a lot. But usually people are just kind of spamming it. But I think overall the nerf to Orisa that people really wanted to see was the shield. But nonetheless, that's a change with that. With Fortify, the cooldown is increased from 8 to 10, so basically that is a nerf and a nerf over there. And once it goes off cooldown, you'll see that it goes to 10. And then the snare duration is reduced from 1 to 0.65. So let's go ahead and just show that off.
Stop right there.
So basically it's not as like effective is what it comes down to. So that's a nerf. That would probably be something that would make a lot of players excited about. If anything was to get nerfed with Orisa, I think people really wanted Shield and Halt. The Fortify and the Fusion Driver, I mean, they are definitely nerfs, especially when she activates this, like, you just can't really deal with her at all with some characters. And then with Sigma, the Hypersphere, the Primary Fire, the range is reduced from 22 to 20 meters. So let me go and show off kind of what that looks like. It's very small, but overall it is definitely a nerf, especially when you try to go ahead and hit those corners to make it bounce like around things. This can actually matter quite a bit. So here is the 20 meters, so we can damage it. We go to like 22, and I'd say this is about maybe 25-ish. Keep in mind the explosion does have a small radius, but maybe you can bounce it. Yeah, we can still hit it from here. I don't know. I feel like that range of the explosion is still like around that 22, so maybe you'd have to get to 25 for it to matter because the explosion radius still is in fact. But the Gravitex Flux, which is the ultimate, can now be interrupted before targets begin falling. I would need someone to like kind of stun me for that to actually work. But the impact slow duration is reduced from 0.9 to 0.6. So overall, that would be a nerf to Sigma. So a lot of people felt like Sigma needed to be nerfed, and on top of that, the accretion, the explosion damage, is reduced from 60 to 40. Actually, I think if we have F1, you guys can see all the names of the things. So accretion is the mass of debris, and the damage is reduced a little bit on that, so that's that. It's pretty much used for the stun and, like, I guess, the knockback anyways, more than anything else, but nonetheless, that is the change with Sigma over here. Now, going into Baptiste, they're actually doing a lot of things that I think most people will be excited about, because those are the heroes that see the most play if you're playing at high ranks in the game. By the way, you know a lot of you guys catch me live on Twitch, and sometimes we don't always see Sigma and Orisa in games, and that's because if you go in the higher rank, like if I play on my main, it is every single game, it's almost all the time Sigma and Orisa and Baptiste. Like, you will see those characters in every single game. And that's why we play at lower ranks, so we don't have to deal with these shields. But Baptiste is a very frustrating healer because he can out DPS people a lot. So his biotic launcher, the primary fire, the recovery time increase from 0.36 to 0.45. So I'm going to go ahead and actually show off what that looks like, because that's kind of confusing. And then also his secondary fire, which is the heal explosion is reduced. So anyways, we're going to go ahead and select my boy Baptiste. This guy is really good. In fact, there's like a video that surfaced a while back ago, and everyone was like laughing at, like, they were kind of making fun of the Overwatch devs because he can actually out DPS Soldier. But anyways, so in between, there's a burst in between his shots. And it's just a little bit more of a delay, but like, you don't notice it too much. In fact, for some people, this might help you out a little bit better, because there is a slight like recoil. Like if we look at the wall, it's more noticeable the further that you get away. But at the same time, it can help some of those other players that normally don't try to like control recoil. It can help you kind of recenter a little bit better. But overall, it is definitely a nerf. And then with his heal explosion, here's what it looks like now. We'll try to get towards like the last frame of where it can heal. So I'm guessing previously you used to be able to heal right here, and now you can only heal like, this would be, I guess, maybe max range, yeah. Basically on that little like line right there. So you can kind of see the AoE on it. But anyways, now that you guys have seen all of these changes, I briefly want to go ahead and talk about my thoughts on them, because a lot of you guys come in by live stream, yo, you got the new PTR, what do you think about Hanzo Nerf? Good. McCree changes. I don't think that this was the buff that McCree needed. In fact, a lot of the like heroes, you know what I want? I want a buff to Genji. All right, the extra 3 ammo. It's just, it doesn't really matter that much. I think that Soldier should have gotten a buff out of anyone, because if you play, okay, I know Defran is really good with Soldier. Probably someone's gonna comment like that and be like, yo, but Defran plays Soldier perfectly fine. Defran can literally play anything and he'll like pop off. But the thing is that I think, especially for the more casual audience, Soldier just doesn't get to see play, and he's a very good entry hero to the game, I would say, for a lot of players. Although at this point, we only have mostly the people that are more dedicated for Overwatch to go ahead and play this game. But at the same time, I think that Soldier should have also had the same treatment. Not the nerf of the primary fire, but just give him a little bit more HP. The changes to McCree are like meh at the end of the day. I don't think it's going to make McCree like super good or like terrible. It just changes him up a little bit. But the Deadeye change is quite nice. The Reaper change, Reaper and Mei were pretty dominant, although if you go to the higher ranks of the game, the Hanzos, man, those top 500 and GM Hanzos, they'll body you all day. And I think that I was more excited about the Storm Arrow nerf than anything else. In fact, I really felt like they should just made it so Storm Arrows can't headshot, or it just doesn't do like a bonus damage, kind of like how McCree's fan the hammer. It doesn't do bonus damage for headshots, but nonetheless, no real comment on McCree. For Reaper, I feel like it's not something that I care about too much. I like to play Roadhog. This doesn't make me think, oh, I can go ahead and go grind and Masters and GM and play Roadhog again, because you still have double shield being super effective, and they're not really changed that much. Orisa changes, I mean, the nerf, technically, it makes me happy, but at the same time, the shield is the problem. Shields are not fun in an FPS game. For a DPS player to output like 900 or 600 damage instantly, you just don't do that. Well, the tank player can hit one button and you have to output that much damage while they're also dealing damage through that shield. It's just not a fun experience for, I think, a lot of players, especially if you come from another FPS game and you go to Overwatch. That's, I think, what makes a lot of people upset is the shields. Same thing with Sigma. The changes should have been the shields, honestly. I mean, it's just because there's double shield. If you look, heck, I feel like I should go ahead and just leave this game so you guys can go ahead and see what I'm talking about. And this is why I don't even play, well, I guess, oh, this is PTR, that's why. Nonetheless, if you go and check out, where the heck did those patch notes go? If you go check out the top 500, if you go to the tank department, it's literally Sigma Orisa every single time. You sometimes see Reinzar, but like for the most part, that's just how I feel about it. Anyways, but yeah, any nerf is a step in the right direction. But I think they really should be looking at maybe not allowing double shield to exist in the game, because like I said, that's how I feel currently, and I think a lot of even casual players complain about like shields in the game. Nonetheless, Baptiste nerf, it's basically that he outputs too much damage, and while this kind of addresses it, it's mostly that he can just throw immortality, and then like a DPS player, like it becomes infinitely more difficult. And I would say the DPS player would have to be so much better to be able to 1v1 a healer, and that doesn't really make sense for the healer. I feel like the healer should be able to outplay the DPS sometimes. Like, for example, Zen is a good example because you can still body Zen, right? But you can't really body Baptiste unless you're one-shotting him. He's just going to go ahead, take some trades, activate his heal, and then what do? Cry because you can't heal, or if you're not getting healed, and then he throws immortality and you just lose the fight. There's a lot of, like, I would say, game design changes to a lot of the heroes in the game that really need to be adjusted to kind of keep up to date with certain things. Like, for example, like Genji. Like good luck trying to play Genji at a higher level in the game. It just doesn't exist. And there's a lot of more things that this could be a topic for another day, but I did briefly want to go ahead and go over the patch notes and talk a little about it, because I know some of you guys will be asking during the live stream, so I'm going to make a command so then you guys can get all of the thoughts. And if you guys are wondering, why I'm not playing PTR, I just feel like there's not a huge change for me to play on PTR. Plus, those of you guys that do play on the PTR, you understand it just takes too long to get a game, and on top of that, there's very little players, I would say, that are going to be super interested in playing on this PTR. There's not a huge change or a huge buff or nerf to make someone super excited. But anyways, I hope this is not the big Overwatch patch. Some of you guys that do follow Overwatch content, I believe it was on Emong's stream that he said there's like some big new change, and there's also someone else on Twitter that leaked Striker, I think it was. But anyways, I hope this is not the big Overwatch update. They've been talking about 3-2-1. We get 3 DPS, 2 healers, and 1 tank. I'm actually looking more forward to that than having the hero bans, although I would think it would be even better if they're just like, I don't understand why it's that difficult to just throw in hero bans just for one season, see how it goes, just try it, it'll make some people get excited, it'll make streamers excited to try out other things, and honestly it'll add a little bit more life into the game. But I think that if they just surprise us and was like, okay, we're going to add hero bans, we're also going to go ahead and add the 3-2-1, and then give us some feedback, tell us if you guys like it or not, and then they can make these changes to the season immediately. In fact, I still don't know why we get these changes on PTR that don't go live immediately, and the reason why I say that is because we had multiple iterations of Mercy being uncontrollably broken that went live in the game when she was able to res. Like, whoever pushed that and said that was okay, I think that they definitely don't actually play Overwatch at a high competitive level, because anyone could tell you that was a terrible patch. And at the same time, while they did like basically changed the way that worked, there's no way you could say that any of these PTR changes, they're not nearly as broken as that Mercy one. And I hope that I prefer to get these crazy broken things to happen in the game. You don't want to know why? Because as a content creator, that makes me excited and it lets me upload like, yo, we're going to play Mercy today, boys. Or just, it adds, again, content for the content creators, but also you guys as the players, it gets you excited. Dude, like, dude, have you seen how broken the character is? Like, could you imagine if there was a patch where like, dude, they made Torbjorn the best character in the game? People would be like, no way. And then they want to hop on Overwatch. Even though it might be terrible for a couple weeks, it still won't nearly be as bad as the Mercy patch. But anyways, rant long enough. I could make a half an hour rant. But anyways, thanks for watching, guys. And for those of you guys that did stick around, because I know we kind of haven't been uploading Overwatch in a while, and I still stream it every day, but it's just because I want to deliver you guys on new content, and the game just doesn't offer it, at least without, of course, those toxic players for the memes and trolls. But anyways, thanks for tuning, guys, and I actually do plan to make a video, more videos on Overwatch relatively soon. I just got to go ahead and stop being lazy and edit some of the videos that I already have clipped. But anyways, thanks for tuning, guys, and if you are new here and want to see more Overwatch content, maybe some rants once in a while, I always go over the patch notes, but, you know, for gameplay-wise, I only try to deliver the spicy stuff, and, you know, I just gotta edit. Anyways, thanks for watching, guys, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. And if you're new here, hit subscribe, turn that bell, drop a like on it, and I'll catch you guys in the next video. Have a good one, and peace.